That should work now. There we go. This literally happened the last time I streamed as well. The microphone cut out right at the start for some reason. Anyway, how's everyone doing? How are we all doing there today? Thank you. A couple of guys have followed and subscribed and all that, so thank you for you folks for doing that. Also, thank you to Andy Watson, who gave me this idea when I streamed the other day. At the time I said I probably wasn't going to do it until far in the future, and then yesterday I thought, well, that's just stupid, why not? So let's see if we can get us all some sort of value out of this. And yeah, so basically what I've just done, while you've been sat there waiting, I've just played a bunch of hands at 5NL Zoom. If we need more hands over the course of the next like hour or so, then I will I'll just delve back into a few other games that I've played more recently, but those are at 10NL reg tables, whereas I kind of wanted this to be focused more on Zoom and at a slightly lower stake. So yeah, so we'll just jump right in. Obviously it's not a huge session this. We got about 200 or so hands in, and it went all right. But yeah, about half an hour or so. Yeah, that's fine, Andy. No worries, mate. Cheers for coming out anyway. So as you can see, the session, which only lasted about 15 minutes or so, went all right. We didn't actually have any big losses, which is always good. We had a couple of decent wins though, so I'll start out with the smallest and kind of work up to the biggest. Obviously, being a short session, we didn't get many all-in spots or anything like that. But I've got another session, which is this one from 10NL. I think it's from 10NL anyway. Yeah, it's from 10NL the other day, so we'll jump into that if we need to. Okay, so in case anyone's wondering what HUD I'm using, it's Hand to Note. At the moment I can't seem to get it to work properly on PokerStars, but I can still get the hands in here, so it's fine for review purposes. So first hand we're going to look at Pocket Kings. And by the way, if any of you've got any comments on the play, that's kind of the point of being here. This isn't just me trying to teach you. I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to teach anyone. But if you see something you like or you don't like, please shout up in the chat, and we can maybe get a debate going or something like that. I've never done this before, so it's kind of we're just going to flit about and see what works basically, and then if we do it again, we'll maybe try something different, and obviously give me your ideas, guys, if you've got any on how we can kind of improve this kind of format. So we see an open, 2 big blinds, ace 10 suited under the gun. Be ideal if you could hide their cards, which I don't think you can, but anyway, 10 you can't see them. So obviously we're raising it up, raising a pretty big size. I tend to go when I've got bigger hands, like kings, aces, ace kings, stuff like that. Especially if I'm in position, I tend to size up a little bit more. So my standard 3-bet size here would be 3 times the raise, so it would be 6 big blinds. But because we've got a much stronger hand in kings, I like trying to get that extra big blind or 2 in there, because it makes our lives a bit easier post flop when we want to extract value and try and get it all in. And particularly at Microstakes, anywhere I found, I don't know if any of you have found this, a lot of the time we're playing against players who don't know what they're doing. Especially when you're playing Zoom, you don't come across the same players over and over again, hand after hand, stuff like that. So sorry, it's absolutely roasting in here, so do forgive me if I'm going to turn a fan on a sec. Do forgive me if I pause for water every couple of seconds. So yeah, because you're going to come across players, infrequently, and or players who aren't paying that much attention, you can get away with making slightly bigger raise sizes or changing your raise sizes up with your big hands, versus if you're playing for like say you're playing 6 hours at the same table with the same players, and you always make it 7 big blinds with aces and kings, but 6 big blinds with everything else, people are going to catch on, even if they're not paying that much attention. But in a Zoom format or something like that, where people aren't paying that much attention, you can get away with being a bit cheekier, I think. So obviously we get called. Flop is Jack, Jack 5. So checks over to us, and obviously we could do a couple of things here. We could bet small to try and get immediate value, or we can check back. I don't think betting big or like half pot or anything achieves anything, because he's just going to fold everything that isn't a jack, everything that isn't a 5, or pocket pairs. But he's got a lot of, as you can see, ace 10, he's got ace queen, ace king. Some of those might call a big size on occasion, but mostly you're only going to get called by small, or you can check back. So in this kind of spot, because I have pocket kings, I've got two lines of thought behind my check, and that is, first of all, if I've got pocket kings, it's much less likely he has ace king, therefore I don't get value from ace king making a call on the flop. So my second thought behind that then is, by checking back, you potentially allow your opponent to catch up. Obviously, if we see an ace, it sucks. But if we see a queen, a 10, a 9, a 7, a 6, pretty much anything but an ace, fair chance that our opponent is caught up, and we can potentially get value a lot easier. And because we've got kings here, we can sometimes have aces. Those would be the primary checkbacks that I would use. If I had possibly queens, but certainly 10s, 9s, 8s, my preferred move with those hands would be to bet small, because they benefit more from protection, because you're trying to protect against ace king, ace queen, ace 10 and stuff like that if you've got a hand like pocket 9s, which to me that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, by all means shout up, but that's my logic with this hand. And also you can get players to do some stupid stuff, as we can see here. So he's decided to bet small with ace 10, and the turn doesn't change a great deal here. So my thoughts are, obviously I'll never fold him. I can call, I can raise. And given the fact that the card that's come is a 6, low card, in my opinion, that doesn't really change the dynamic of the board that much. Yes, he may have 7, 8 for a draw, or he might have hearts, but a lot of the time he's just going to be stabbing to try and take it down with basically a nothing hand, as he's doing here. By raising up, you're getting called by 7, 8. You're getting called by flush draws, but I think the primary thing you're getting called by is pocket jacks. Again, I could be wrong here, but that is my take on it. If I raise, the majority of the hands that are going to call are going to be hands that have a jack in them. A lot of other stuff is going to fold. If he's got like ace 5 here, he might bet this and then potentially bet the river, but he is probably going to fold if I raise in on the turn, is my thoughts. So hence I go for a slightly lower variance play, and I decide to call. Turn, the river is a 3, so all of his draws miss. Flush doesn't come in, straight doesn't come in. We're now pretty much playing against air hands, maybe some pocket pairs and jack X, and he decides to fire a half pot bet in. So he sized up from the previous betting round, and again we've got the same kind of thought that we had on the flop and on the turn. What are we getting called by when we raise? We'll get called by a jack, we'll get called by pocket 5s, pocket 6s. Are we going to get called by a hand like pocket 9s and 10s? Possibly. But all of his missed draws, his flush draws, his straight draws, his random ace highs and stuff, they're all just going to fold anyway. So we don't really get any value here. We only get value from a couple of hands. So for that reason, I decide there's not much point in raising. I'm better off just calling. If he's got a jack, that sucks, but I've saved myself some money. And if he's got an air hand, well, nothing's changed because obviously, you know, he's never calling a raise with ace 10 or a lot of those hands. Mumblechum, yeah, that's kind of the point with the check back on the flop. I want him to pick up some equity, potentially try and get more value from him. Suited connectors, I don't think he's calling with on a flop. I don't think he calls with suited connectors on the flop unless he has like 6-7 of spades specifically or something like that, or like 6-4 of spades maybe. But I think like as you guys are saying, like a small bet on the flop, I think that's fine as well personally. I don't think you can go wrong with either a bet or a check. As I said, the reason why I decided to go for the check instead of the bet is purely because my kings, and if same as well if I had aces, yeah, possibly 10-9 suited as well. If I had kings with kings, or if I had aces as well, I'm blocking a lot of his potential calls with like ace king and stuff like that. But I think betting's fine as well, and this is the whole point of us having this discussion at the end of the day. Still bet half pot as well, because players at the Michaels will call here with 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s. Yeah, I agree with that. I do think half pot would be a little bit too big to get a call from ace king and ace queen. I think maybe 1/3 might be better for that, or even a quarter pot. I do that sometimes. Just bet a like super small amount. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think, again, as I've said, I don't think checking or betting on the flop is bad. I do think though that maybe one is better than the other. This is 5NL Zoom, Mumble. Literally played like 20 minutes ago. Yeah, sorry, as I was saying, I think betting and checking are both valid, but I think one may be better than the other. It may be a case that betting small is better than checking. But as I said, if I had queens, 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, I'd be betting small to get protection from ace king, ace queen, ace 10, protect against overcards. Here I'm only worried about an overcard being an ace. I'm not really worried about anything else. No, I can't think of a card on the turn that I'm worried about. And yeah, as you say, they're getting called by ace king and ace queen, but because I've got kings, I block a lot of his ace kings in his range, and because of that, that means that it's more likely he potentially have a hand like ace queen, which is I think folding a lot some of the time, certainly. He's obviously never folding ace jack, and puts more ace jacks in his range because he can't have ace kings often, therefore he's got more ace jacks. And then yeah, like small pocket pairs, but then everything else he's just folding. And one of the things I was going to say is, as well, one of the benefits of taking the slow play approach is when he's got a hand like ace 10 that's got nothing, he's drawing to an ace and that's it. He does something stupid and we made an extra, what, 5, but an extra 17 big blinds there, that we may not have got if we decided to bet. Maybe we would have got called on the flop, but certainly wouldn't have got called if we see bet the turn as well. Or river. So I think it was like I said, I think it was a hand that potentially could have been played better. I do like what you guys are saying about betting small on the flop to get value from some of those weaker holdings. But also, again, there are benefits to checking, as you can see here as well. So I think it's one of those things that I don't have PioSolver or anything like that, unfortunately. So if I did, I would run a sim for you. But on a super dry board like this, when we've got a really, really strong value hand, my personal approach is I tend to try and let my opponent do something stupid, rather than do something like, say for example, like just as a thought exercise here, say I bet on the flop, I bet 5 big blinds, so about 1/3 pot, right? And he comes over the top of me for, I don't know, 20 big blinds, 25 big blinds, or possibly even shoves, because you only got 40 big blinds stack. So yeah, let's use that as an example. Say he comes over the top and he shoves. Are we happy about calling? Because I wouldn't be happy about calling. I probably would call, because I am a fucking complete station. I probably would call. I wouldn't be happy about it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this hand anyway. As I say, maybe could have been played better by putting a small bet in on the flop, but then going for an alternative approach and going for a check, we do get some value from a nothing hand basically. But anyway, we'll move on to another hand now, because we've done this one to death. There you go, Strutmeister coming in there. Second sub of the year. Why my sub goal is still at 1, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy about calling an all-in. If I knew more about the player, maybe like if this was a standard table and this player had been really tight and he checked shoves, then it becomes an easier fold. If he's a maniac, it becomes an easier call. But it's kind of a weird thing. Also, Mumblechum, just so you know, like I just had to approve your message there. I have no idea why. Yeah, for some reason this auto mod thing that Twitch has sometimes just blocks out sentences that have no bad words in them, so I don't know what that was all about. Yeah, but yeah, that's a good point, Andy. Make an exploitative fold to a shove. So yeah, it's an interesting hand, and it's certainly one that, like I said, I think you can make a couple of different plays on it. Like maybe I could have even raised the turn as well. Like when some straight draws and flush draws are apparent, maybe I could raise it up small. Yeah, maybe it doesn't like spaz. I don't know. Well, hang on, no, it can't be spaz, Dazed, because you've just said spaz, and it didn't flag up. So I don't know what it's on about. Vacuum. I'll make an emote that is literally just a vacuum cleaner. And anytime I say vacuum on stream, subscribers can just spam a fucking vacuum cleaner in the chat. That'd be brilliant. I'd enjoy that. Anyway, let's get back to poker. We're here to learn. We're here to dissect and to analyze. No worries, Nick. Don't worry about it, mate. I didn't even know you were in the stream yet, mate. So anyway, where were we at? 15 viewers. I'm hit. Literally, my girl, just before starting the stream, my girlfriend came in and she was like, "Do you realize you've got 8 viewers and you've not even started yet?" And I was like, "I know. This is the best idea that I've ever had." But actually, it was your idea, Andy. So maybe I should pay you a commission of like half of every subscriber when I eventually get like Twitch money in fucking 5 months' time, when they eventually give me $100 or something. Anyway, we're here to learn. We're here to learn. We're all here to learn together. So ace king standard. We raise it up. We get a call. So king high flop. It's a relatively dry board, and this guy decides to donk bet into us. Basically, donk bets as a thing, I don't know about you guys, I hate donk bets. I hate seeing them. I don't understand what people are doing half the time. Why is he donk betting? Does he have a draw? Does he have a pair? Does he have a bottom set or something? I've seen all of these different scenarios play out over the years, even just over the last month. However, the thing that I have seen more often than anything else when someone donk bets is they've either got top pair, usually with a weak kicker, or they've got a draw. So here I'm saying, okay, he's probably got like a queen jack, jack nine maybe, a weak king, which is what he's got here. Sometimes maybe even a 10, like a queen 10. So I think, right, I'm just going to raise it up. I could maybe have gone for a bigger size, but I'm conscious that it's quite a dry board. There's not, with the exception of like queen jack for an open ender, there aren't really any other strong draws here. You've only got gut shots or backdoor flush draws. And obviously I block top pair as well, which is a problem because he can have less top pairs in his range. And there you go. So yeah, as you said that, Andy, there, donk betting tends to vary from player to player. If someone always, I've played against players that always donk bet bottom, like a set when they flop a set. I've played against players that always donk bet top pair, always donk bet a draw, or always donk bet all three or two of the three or whatever. So you can never really tell. So anyway, as kind of expected, we get the call. I didn't raise it up anymore, like I said, because it's still quite a dry flop, and I do want to get some hands, some weak kings and potentially some tens to call here. So we get the call. Turn is a deuce. It shouldn't change anything unless he's got king deuce, which he can have sometimes. But aside from that, we're not worried about this at all. So I come in again. I don't go for an over bet. I don't go for a massive bet. I want to keep in his queen jacks. I want to keep in his weak kings and his 10x. We get the call. 5 on the river does spice it up a little bit. If he had, queen jack, jack 9 of spades, then obviously you hit a flush. If he had 10x of spades, he's hit a flush, stuff like that. But aside from those hands, we don't really have to worry about too much. So my thought here, I've kind of sized down my bet sizing. So here I'm betting about, what is that, like 65% pot, something like that. And I'm still sizing up my actual size, so I'm going for 17 bigs instead of 12. But I've gone for just about half pot. And this is kind of an exercise in value betting that I've been trialing. I'm be honest, guys, I'm bad at thin value betting on the river. I'm really fucking bad at it. I tend to either overshove or undershove or whatever. My HUD, I'm not entirely sure what that is actually, I can't remember. Oh, donk flop, there you go. It's now 100% because we've played against him for one hand. Where he's donked the flop. So yeah, just disclaimer, I'm not an authority on poker in general, but I'm certainly not an authority on getting value on the river in spots where it's not exactly clear kind of how much you should be trying to go for value for. So I'm trialing kind of going for half pot bets in situations where I'm a little unsure, to try and build a sample of like, right, okay, was I right to go for value here? Was I wrong to go for value there? And trying to keep my bet size roughly about the same, dependent on what the board texture is. If it's board texture like this, where you can have a lot of misdraws, some weak kings, maybe even some 10x, I tend to try and go for about a half pot value bet, or slightly under half pot. And yeah, I'm targeting basically, as I said, weak kings and some 10x, some ace 10, queen 10, jack 10 that might decide to call. And if he does decide to move in on us or raise a significant amount, then we'll be most likely folding, because you don't see people check raise the river on a bluff. Cheers, Andy. Thanks for hanging out, man. Catch you again. Yeah, you don't see people check raising the river on a bluff very often at the Microstakes, certainly on Zoom, where people are just clicking buttons waiting to hit a hand. So we go for the half pot bet, and as you probably guess, we get the call from King 9. So I think we played that hand well. I don't think we would have got much more value. Obviously, if you know he's got King 9, we could probably get away with betting a bit more there on the river. But obviously, as I said, I'm not betting to get value from King 9 specifically. I'm betting to get value from any king in his range that we beat. King, Queen, Jack 9, King 8, King 7, King 6. All of those they can have. But also some 10x that might think that we've just missed a draw or something like that. Because we could quite reasonably have Queen Jack here as well. We could have Ace Jack, Ace Queen. We could have a bunch of stuff here that has completely missed this board that we're triple barreling to try and get him off his hand. What he doesn't know though is that if we were triple barreling and we were bluffing on the river, we'd be going for a much bigger size, because we'd be wanting to polarize our bet sizing to say, right, you know, if you want to call us on the river, you've got to call pot size or bigger, because we are yeah, we're saying we've either got it or we don't. Here I'm not saying I've either got it or I'm not. I'm literally saying I've got a value hand and I'm trying to get value from your value hands. When you move up in stakes, as I have dabbled with recently, people can read these small value bets on the river as exactly what they are, and sometimes you do get people getting a little crazy and moving in on you for, you know, 3 times the pot, because they know that you've got like top pair and that it's difficult to call. So I don't think much more needs to be said about this hand. I think it was played well. If you've got any other, you know, thoughts on it, let me know. But I think it was played well. And yeah, if no one's got any kind of comments about it, then we'll move on to the next hand. Just as I hydrate, as my face is being illuminated by the sun that is literally right on me, right there. Okay, so next hand. This is the last hand that we'll show from this session. Like, as I said, it was only kind of 15 minutes before I started the stream, so we didn't get much in. But I will dabble into some other sessions that I've played at 10NL on regular tables in a minute. So pocket kings, obviously we're raising it up, and we got a call and another call. So got a call in position on us and call out of position. Once again, we see a donk bet. Don't you just fucking love the Microstakes, guys? Donk bets all fucking day long. Also, I've just realised I've got my headphones on, but there's no sound. There's nothing going on, so I don't know why I've got my headphones on. I hate this. I hate the sound of my own voice. That's the problem. I'll turn my speakers up just in case any alerts going on, whatever. So we've got pocket kings. What do we want to do here, guys? Do we want to raise? Do we want to call? If we raise, how much? What are your thoughts before we carry this on? And also, what kind of range are we putting these guys on? Or let's stick with this guy actually. What do we think he'd be doing this with? Pocket fives, reasonable. A 10, maybe a 9. Probably not a 9 though. Flush draws, straight draws. You know, Queen Jack very often. Queen Jack especially with a heart, or potentially Queen Jack of hearts. And the fact that with our kings we don't have a heart as well, so we don't block any of his king high flush draws, which is helpful. So you could have King Jack of hearts, you could have King Queen of hearts. Essentially what we're looking at here is maybe a flop 2 pair like 10-9, maybe a flop set like 5s, but then a lot of draws. I can't remember exactly what I did here, so let's see. I raise it up to 14 big, so just slightly over what was already in the middle. For exactly the range, exactly the reason, sorry, that everyone's saying there. We want to charge for the flushes and the straights, and we want to try and get value from them. And yeah, we're all pretty much in agreement on this. I think 12 big blinds, 13 to 16. Yeah, we want to be raising a reasonable amount here, but we don't want to be raising fucking stupid stuff. Like if we raise to like 20 big blinds here, excuse me, I think we would be screwing ourselves out of some potential value. Personally, I think we'd be a little bit going too hard with 20 big blind raise, and we get called by too many value hands and not enough draws and stuff. And with 14 bigs as well, he's going to call a hand like Jack 10. If we raise to 20 bigs, he might actually fold Jack 10. I know we're at the micros and people are calling stations, but go on, Strutmeister. What did you think you had? Go on. For the stream, man, do it. Tell us what you thought. This is all part of the learning process. Pocket tens. Pocket tens isn't a ridiculous idea though, mate. I lean towards pocket fives because people are more likely to just flat call pocket fives in the blinds. But you see people at the micros, especially, all the time calling in the blinds with jacks and tens. So it's not, you're not a million miles away there. It's just the case that most of the time on this board texture, it's going to be a draw because this is really super connected. And a lot of times it's just going to be a draw. So anyway, this guy folds. We get a call from alert. Turn is a 9. And when the 9 came, my first thought was, for fuck's sake, he's gonna have like ace 9 or some shit now, isn't he? He's gonna have jack 9 of hearts or some bollocks like that. But that's my cynical nature coming in there, where I instantly think everyone's just has it all the fucking time. However, what was true on the flop was normally true on the turn as well. Thank you for the follow, Mig Pappers. What was true on the flop is usually true on the turn. So yes, he can have ace 9, king 9, queen 9, jack 9, 9 8, 9 7, even 9 6, all of hearts. You can have all of these hands, right? But he can have a lot more of the other hands. He has a lot more ace 10, king 10, queen 10, jack 10, 10 8, 10 7, 10 6 suited, queen jack, king jack, jack 8, 7 8, 7 6, anything with hearts that it doesn't have a 9 in it. There's a million and one hands that you can have here that don't have a 9 in them, that we can get some decent value from. Hence I go for a big bet. Now if he moves in here, I'm just folding, just getting the fuck out of the way. I've been burned too many times in a situation like this where I've got an overpair, the board pairs on the turn and they just have it, they check raise, you're done. If he moves in here, I'm folding. Just have my money. If you've got queen jack, fucking good luck to you, mate. You've done me dirty. You know what I mean? But again, we're at the micros here. We're not playing a 5k tournament for $120,000 for first place. Shout out to fucking Spraggy yesterday. I don't know if anyone else watched that, but my heart was going in some of the hands he played. But yeah, so we got tons of value hands that we can. Sorry, we got tons of hands that we can get value from. Loads of Broadway hands that are going to have either a gut shot or a open ender, flush draws, 10x. Very very rare occasion I have seen people have jacks and queens here where they just don't like 3-betting ever. He got third place for $70,000, and he was unlucky. He lost, like, I think he had ace 8 or something like that. Got it all in against something else, like it was like 6 high, 6 5 or something like that, and he got unlucky. So anyway, so we get the call. as expected. Queen on the river. What do we do on the queen on the river, guys? I'm going to give you a second just to put your thoughts in the chat. But what would you do here on the queen on the river? And feel free to kind of give a like explanation as to why and all that shit. So think through the hand as we've played it. What are the hands we're putting him on? Potentially. 10x, yeah. Queen Jack. Sometimes King Queen of Hearts. Maybe even Ace Queen of Hearts. Queen 10, Jack 10, King 10, Ace 10. Jack 8, that would be a problem. But what are we thinking here, guys? What's our play? I should say as well, he checks over to us. Yeah, that's good analysis, Dazed. Bet small, get value from his Queen X, Queen Jack. He's got a 9. Fold. Are you folding to the check strut? Is that the plan? Like, he checks over. Do you know what? Fuck it. The Queen. He's got Jack 8. That's it. I fold. He's got Queen 9. Fuck it. I'm out of there. Bet small. 30% of the pot. Get value from King Queen. Queen Jack. Shove on the river. Bob. Okay, so we got a different point of view here from Bob. But I'll hold the suspense for any longer. I agree with Bob. I put him in. I put him in for his 70.6 lines. So, why am I doing this? Right, so hands we lose to on the river aren't much different to hands we lose to on the turn, really. Hands with a 9 in them, that's it, we're toast. We're toast anyway. However, the queen is quite good for us because it is less likely now that he could have Queen 9, either suited or offsuit. Queen 9 suited is now only 3 combos. Queen 9 offsuit is just incredibly unlikely anyway. So yeah, so already we've eliminated or partially eliminated some of his value hands that he could have on the river that are going to call all in. King Jack. King Jack is a problem, someone said. We have pocket kings here. So his King Jacks already are cut down significantly. Instead of having 16 combos of King Jack, he now only has 8 combos of King Jack. He's literally cut in half the amount of combos of King Jack that he can have. And also, with the exception of maybe King Jack of Hearts, how many people are going to call this size on the turn with let's say King of Hearts, Jack of Spades, or something like that? Not many, right? It's mostly going to be King Jack of Hearts. Not always, but mostly. So we could say, okay, most of the time he's got, as value hands, he's got King Jack of Hearts. You could certainly have Queen 9 for a boat. Less likely now with obviously the Queen on the river. Maybe have 10-9 for a boat. Again, not as likely. You'd expect him to have potentially raised on the flop or turn. Pocket 5s for a boat. Again, expect him to raise flop or turn most of the time. Certainly Jack 9 is a hand you could have. Jack 9 of Hearts especially. King 9, but again we block King 9. Ace 9 and Jack 8. I think the hand that I am most worried about here is probably Jack 8, believe it or not. Or maybe Jack 9 of Hearts. Or just any 9 of Hearts, basically. Any 9 of Hearts and like a Jack 8 of Hearts, or King Jack of Hearts. So, thinking back to what I was saying earlier, on the flop and on the turn, the amount of hands on the amount of draws that he can have, or value hands with a 10. You can have Jack 10, Queen Jack, King 10, Ace 10, Queen Jack, King Queen, Ace Queen of Hearts, all of which are quite easy hands to see him having there. You know what I mean? You could potentially have Ace Jack of Hearts as well, which just folds. Ace King of Hearts, which just folds, and all that. So I'm rambling a bit here. Essentially, on this river, my thinking was the hands that beat us are like very specific, I think, and most of the hands that beat us, I think he would have raised already by now. He would have raised on the flop or on the turn. If he flopped the set or if he flopped 2 pair, I think either on the flop or turn, he's going to want to put the money in, especially on the turn. When I put a big bet in here, the pot's already 60 big blinds. Very easy for him to just shove over the top if he's got 10, 9, or any 9 for that matter, 5s, whatever. So my thinking is here, right, if I'm going to go for value, I just want to go straight for, I'm attacking his Queen 10s, his Queen Jacks, and occasional King Queen of Hearts or Ace Queen of Hearts. That's pretty much where I'm attacking. Sometimes he might make a slightly looser call with Jack 10, King 10, or Ace 10. That's what I'm attacking here. And I'm making my bet size polarized because I want to make him think that, right, I've either missed my draw, I've missed with, you know, Ace King of Hearts or something like that, or I have a value hand, like a strong value hand that isn't worried about the queen on the river. So yeah, that is my thinking behind the bet size. Unfortunately, we ain't going to see what he got because he folded. So with him folding, my assumption would be that he was maybe on something like a 7-8, or possibly 6-7 of hearts, maybe Ace Jack of Hearts, maybe probably not Ace King of Hearts. He might have folded like a Jack 10 or King 10 or Ace 10 or 10-8 or 10-7 or whatever. He might have folded a 10, basically is what I'm saying. He might have folded a 10, or in all likelihood he probably had some sort of draw that he's missed on the river. But that's part and parcel of it. Obviously, what I'm attacking here are the draws that don't make their draw, but they do hit top pair on the river, or even 2 pair if he's got Queen 10 or something like that. So I can see a lot of merit, I've got to say. Thank you for the follows, by the way, Alex and Johnny. Much appreciated. I can see a lot of merit to, like a lot of you guys said, bet small. I can see a lot of merit to that, to be fair, because you will get called more often by a 10 or something like that. Pocket 8s or 7s if he somehow has that, which I don't think he ever really does, but yeah, weak 10s and stuff are going to call from here, call the 30%. However, the range that I've put him on in the hand in the moment, I'm thinking Queen Jack is very likely, Queen 10 very likely, King Queen pretty likely as well. So I'm attacking all of his Queen X, I'm attacking his Queen 10s, I'm attacking a lot of his stronger 10X that will still just call. I mean, as we were discussing earlier in this hand, the Kings and Ace 10, Microstakes fish are renowned for being calling stations. How many times have you made like a bluff or something here and the guy's just called you off with fucking 10-8 and you just sit there and you go, God, why won't people respect my bluffs at the micros or something like that? Well, in that situation, that's exactly this situation, basically. Except this time we're not bluffing, we're going for value. And I don't know, personally in this spot, I prefer going for the bigger bet on the river and trying to get absolute max value and just accepting that he's going to fold like his 10-8s and Jack 10s a lot of the time. But I mean, this is part of why we're having this discussion, isn't it? It's what would you like? Look at how I've played it. Think about what I'm saying about it, and then just go in. Right, okay. I don't agree with this dickhead with the beard and a bald head. I would do it this way instead for these reasons. What I'm trying to achieve with this stream isn't me preaching to you saying this is how you should play, because I'm not qualified to do that, but get you to think about how you would play the hand and really really hone in on what you would do, why you would do it, what our opponent has, why you think he has what he has, or she for that matter. And yeah, so that's my reasoning behind what I've done here. And feel free to agree or disagree. I don't really give a shit. But that's me. Like, that's what I've done there. So yeah. So all in all, 10-minute session, and we finish up a buy-in, 47 big blinds over 100. That's a decent little, 10-15 minute session there. So we've got a bit of time left here, so I'll carry on for now, and I'll just dive into this rather slightly pleasant, could be better looking 10NL graph from the other day. And here we've got, this was a long ass, this was like a 3-hour session, so we've got losses here, we've got wins. So what are we doing? What are we doing here? I'll tell you what, let's start with a problem and end on a high. How's that for you guys? Already a good sign, bear in mind 10NL, is our biggest loss is less than 50 big blinds. As far as I'm concerned, that's always a good sign of a session that could have gone a lot fucking worse. If your biggest loss is less than 50 big blinds, in my opinion, you've done your job if you've grinded for a good few hours. And if your biggest win is at least one buy-in, then again, you've done your job. So what we'll do is, I think what we'll quickly do is we'll jump into the biggest loss that we had this day and biggest win. So we'll do the biggest loss first, and you can feel free to fucking rip me to shreds. Now already we can see kind of the bad news here that's going to happen. 10 points if you can guess what hits the flop. 10 points on my eternal love if you can tell me what card you think lands on the flop here. Set. Yeah, of course it's a fucking set, isn't it? So we raise, he calls. There's the set. Boom. Fuck my life, right? You ain't seen nothing yet. So, first things first, obviously we've raised in the small blind. It's a pretty dry board. We've hit top pair. Half pot bet. I think that's a perfectly reasonable bet. We'll get called by some stuff. We'll get called by some 9x. We'll get called from some slightly weaker queen x. We'll get called from some pocket pairs, some 6s, 7s, 8s, 5s, 4s, 3s. We'll get called by like ace 2 as well, a lot of the time. Get called by jack 10, king 10, king jack, all these things. And a lot of the time, this will quite often be my kind of default. If I've raised in the small blind and the big blind calls and the flop is pretty dry, a lot of the time, whether I've got something or not, I'll just throw out half pot and just try and take it down, basically. But obviously, if I'm doing that with all of my bluff hands, like let's say I've got, I don't know, ace 5 here or something like that, I've just got a random ace high hand, and I just throw in a half pot bet, I'm just trying to get them to fold out their fucking 7-6 that has no equity or whatever, but could cause me a problem on the later streets if I give them a free card or whatever. And also to protect against them then having the initiative in position and just going thing. Exactly what I've just said, Dazed. So in this particular spot, blind versus blind, if I've raised in the small blind and the flop comes dry, I am betting, I'm c-betting pretty much 100% and almost pretty much always half pot. I'm just making it a solid thing. If I've raised in the small blind and the big blind calls and the board is dry, I'm betting half pot, pretty much whatever I've got. The only exception to that rule, which could be a problem if I ever play against any of you, which I probably will. The only exception to that rule is if I have, say I've got pocket queens here, or pocket nines. Queens or nines, I am folding. No, I'm not folding. I'm not folding, I said the wrong fucking word. Queens or nines, I'm checking. Because I block too much. I block too much of what they're going to call with. Like if I have pocket queens here, then flop is queen nine deuce. I'm getting very, very little to call. Like he almost never has a queen. And obviously you get value from the 9 or whatever like that. It's, as you say, it's a rainbow board as well, Bob. So yeah, you could bet 1/3 pot here as well. Like that's fine. This can kind of depend on what stake you're playing. I find if I'm playing 2NL or 5NL, I bet about half pot. If I'm playing 10NL or above, I'll probably bet 1/3. And it's purely because of people's psychology when they see an amount of money. People are more likely to fold 10 cents than they are to 15 cents. Sorry, they're more likely to fold 15 cents than they are to 10 cents. Wrong way around. On a dry board or whatever in any situation. Whereas at 10NL, where the players are a little bit better, generally speaking, obviously not always, but generally speaking, players are a little bit better, a little bit more sophisticated. If you're betting 20 cents or 30 cents, people just don't see it the same way. This isn't something I've necessarily read in an article somewhere or whatever like that. This is just something that I have generally kind of picked up on from, you know, years of playing and what have you like that. Generally speaking, people see the money and they don't see the blinds far too often, and especially when you get up to 20NL, 25NL and stuff like that. If people are folding, they're folding. They have an inelastic calling range a lot of the time, meaning that if they're folding, they're just going to fold to any amount. At the micros, I found that isn't necessarily so. People are more likely to call for a much, much smaller size. They don't necessarily understand why they're doing it. But I'm trying to kind of make a generalization for the population. Like I just expect more people to fold to a half pot bet than a quarter pot bet. So that's why I just make it a half pot. But what the benefit of it is as well, well, maybe not in this situation because the other guy's flopped a set, but in most situations, if I've got Queen Jack and let's say he's got 10-9, well, I'm getting that extra blind of value. And I'm able to build the pot a lot more effectively when I actually have a hand. Usually, if I'm bluffing, let's say if I'm just c-betting with nothing, I'm kind of just doing a one and done. Like I'm betting my ace-5. If you call, that's it. I'm giving up unless I hit an ace on the turn or a flush draw or whatever. Anyway, we can talk all day about specific topics and what have you, but we'll move on. So obviously he's slow playing his 9 here, and then we hit our money card, the Jack of Hearts. Now this is a problem, because here after he calls the flop, I'm thinking, okay, obviously you'll have some sets in his range. Deuces, 9s, probably not queens because I blocked the queens, so he's only got one combo of queens and he would raise them pre-flop. Also 9s, not as likely because a lot of the time he'll 3-bet pre-flop with his 9s. Not always, as evidence, but a lot of the time he'll 3-bet with his 9s. What I could have though is 10-9, King 9, loads of single 9 hands. You could have Queen 9 as well for sure. Ace 9, King 10. You could have, as I said, 10-9. You could also have Jack 10. You could have Jack 9, which obviously we are crushing here. You can have a load of 9x in his range. A couple of, like literally a couple of Queen X. Not that many, but we absolutely could be up against like a Queen 9 or a Queen 10 or whatever like that we're going to get a lot of value from here. Very rarely we're going to be up against the set. So naturally I size up on the turn. I've not gone huge because I'm conscious that I do block a lot of his calling range. I block his, as I said, Queen 9, I block his Queen 10, I block his Jack 10 and stuff like that, but he can still have them. So I want to try and get a bit of value from them. And he just flat calls again. Now let's flip the scenario a sec and imagine we are the player in the big blind here. We flopped our set, dry board, and we've just called to, you know, let the other player catch up. Turn is the Jack of Hearts, one of the most dynamic cards that could come. A Jack or a 10 are probably the two most dynamic cards that could come, especially when it also brings a flush draw on the board. Reason being is because obviously now all of the Jack 10s, the Queen Jacks, the Jack 9s, King 10s obviously as well, King Jacks, Ace Jacks and stuff. Any hand with a Jack in it basically is now just caught up. Any hand with a 10 in it now has an open ender. Any two-hearted hand now has a flush draw. If I, thank you Shane for the follow. If I'm him, right, and I've got middle set, let's say, on this turn, I'm fucking raising it up. I'm raising it up. I want to get value from someone like me who's got Queen Jack that's going to find it very difficult to fold to a raise here. I want to get value from Queen 10. I want to get value from Jack 10. King Jack as well. It's got a gut shot. I want to get value from what, you know, name any two cards that have got hearts. You know, any queen that's Queen X of hearts. Potentially even pocket deuces. Blocking the flush raise, see where you are, rep the flush. So yeah, so if I'm this guy here, I think that they are losing value by just calling here. I think they should be raising and attacking my potential draws and my potential two pairs and my potential like pocket deuces. Gotta remember as well, I could still have aces and kings here because I raised pre, I've c-bet the flop, I've c-bet the turn. I can have aces and kings here as well, potentially. So if I'm this guy, my first thought on this turn is I'm either betting big or I'm raising big. And I think they've made a mistake here and have lost out on value from me. River's the ace. And you know, what are we thinking here, guys? I actually don't remember what I did here at all. I've got no idea what I did here. What would you do with on this board now with the ace on the river? Do you still go for value? Or do you still, or do you check and try to A, protect against their potential sets or their potential better two pairs that could have got there now with the ace on the river? What are you doing? What are you doing? Good rep, but you know he's just going to call. So this is one of the interesting things as well, guys. If any of you do like any study sessions like this on your own, like go back and look at previous days. Like don't look at it for a week or two and then come back and look at it again where you don't even remember what you did and then see if you made what you perceive to potentially be the right decision. I have no idea if I'm making the right decision on the river here or not. Absolutely no idea. So 2 passive might jam, but either way I'd accept the loss. Okay, fair. So what did I do? I checked. Okay. Me looking at this today, I think I've made a mistake there by checking. I really truly think that I fucked this up by checking here. It's great in a, there's that word again, it's great in a vacuum, because obviously I'm getting fucking owned here. But I think I've made a mistake here by checking. I think, as you guys have said, I should bet. I don't think I should bet very big, because the board is a little bit scary. So I don't think I should bet very big. But if I do bet, I think I should bet somewhere between anywhere between like half pot and even maybe a quarter pot. Probably 1/3. Anywhere between a third and a half pot is what I'd probably do here if this was this hand today. To try and get value from, as we said, their jack nines, their potential ace 10. You could even have ace 10 of hearts, ace 10 of spades, that might have called the flop, to get called by jack 10 even. I've seen people call with jack 10 this kind of spot. Queen X. The only hands we should really be worried about here, pocket deuces, pocket nines, for obvious reasons. We shouldn't really be worried about queens or jacks because we block them, we'd expect them to raise. They can't have queen jack suited ever as well, which is really important to note. And we're worried about like ace deuce some of the time, we're worried about ace 9 some of the time, king 10 some of the time, but not a lot, right? We're getting, I think, good value from hands like ace 10 that probably called half pot bet on the flop and would certainly call the turn. We're getting value from queen 10, jack 10, if we're betting smaller. If he calls pocket nines there, one would assume he'd probably call pocket 10s as well, and would probably take the same line with 10s, call flop, call turn. So I've got my fan on by here, just complete sidetrack. I've got my fan on here and my bloody cup in front of it, so I'm not getting any air at all. It's just blowing into the cup. So yeah, so I check here anyway, which I think now is a mistake. I think we should be going for value. And he comes in for a slightly over pot bet. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think we can ever fold here. I think he'd be doing this with all the hands that I just said he would be falling with. I think he'd be doing it with queen 9. He'd be doing it with ace 10. Be doing it with queen 10, sometimes jack 10, some missed hearts on occasion. I think jack 9 as well, certainly. I think you'd be doing this with probably as many hands that we beat as we lose to. And we're getting, as you can see here, we're getting 34%. We only need to win 34% of the time. You've got to ask your question with queen jack here. Are you winning 34% of the time or more? I think the answer is yes, right? If you bet the guy's he's never folding his set, ever. The question is whether or not he'd shove his set, whether he'd raise it. Being this passive, I don't know. I would hazard a guess that by the river that maybe the penny will have dropped and maybe he might think, oh shit, maybe I should have raised earlier and I'll raise now. But yeah, I don't think we can ever fold this in a million years, personally. So naturally I call and see the bad news. 84 bigs going your way. Fuck my life. But you can look at it another way and say, okay, well, I lost less than 50 big blinds in a pot where on the turn I've got top 2 and my opponent has a set, an underset. where they can have a lot of draws. If he raises the turn, I'm calling, obviously. I'm always calling. Yeah, it is very value heavy, but you got to remember there are value hands we beat. He'd be doing this with Queen 9 and Jack 9. He'd be doing this with Ace 10 for value, to try and get value against my Queen 10 or my King Queen. A lot of the time. Or even sometimes, you know, he might think that I would call Jack 10 here if he's got a hand like Ace 10 or whatever. Or if he even has Queen X himself, he might think that I've got, like, you know, a Jack 10, and he might think that he can get value from my Jack or whatever. Yeah, appreciate that, Shane. Here's what I would do differently if I was to play this hand today. Obviously, I kind of gave a bit of a overview of that earlier. I don't like my check on the river. It's not terrible. I don't think it's a terrible check, but I don't think it's the best option, and I'll explain why. So the problem we face on the river when we check is that he's betting pot here, or just over pot, right? Which is a problem for us, because now we're in a tough kind of a tough situation. I think we have to call, but it's an expensive call to make, right? I don't want to be calling off 30 bigs here, really. So let's take a theoretical scenario here. Let's say I bet 12 bigs on the river, right? Let's say I bet 12 bigs on the river, makes the pot 40-ish. Well, let's say I bet 13 bigs, so slightly under half pot. Trying to get value from Jack X, Queen X, some random Ace X, and all that. Well, that accomplishes two things. First of all, I get value from those hands I've just said. Queen X, Jack 9, Queen 9, Ace, whatever. And if he falls, great. I don't think he's ever going to flat call something we beat. As much as he's played this hand passively, I think he is always going to call Queen 10, Jack 10, Ace 10, Jack 9, whatever like that. I don't see him coming in for a raise with Jack 9 or Queen 9, which are the two ideal hands that he could raise with potentially that we beat. But I don't think he's ever doing that, right? I don't know. Would you raise Queen 9 on the river here? Probably not, right? I wouldn't do that. So by betting small, or, you know, say half pot or less, we can go, right, put my 13 bigs in. That is the amount that I'm happy losing if this guy now just fucking comes over the top of me with his King 10, his Ace 9, his pocket 9s, his pocket deuces. Maybe sometimes Ace Jack. I think those are his value hands. Maybe 10-8 on occasion. But I don't think he's ever really raising Queen 9, Jack 9. And I don't think he's going to raise on a bluff, because as we all know at the micros, when people raise on the river, most of the time they're not bluffing. Probably 95% of the time they're not. At the micros, especially on Zoom, people aren't bluffing when they're raising the river. So what we can do is we can bet 13 big blinds, and we can go, okay, some of the time he's going to call us with a worse hand, and we make 13 big blinds off him. Or some of the time he's going to raise over the top of us. Say we bet 13, he raises to the pot, he raises to 40. I would be relatively comfortable folding. If he raised even bigger than that, if he shoves, or if he raises to 50 or 60 or 70. Again, I'm increasingly happier to fold the bigger he goes, knowing that actually I've only lost 13 bigs there, whereas here by checking I give him the opportunity to bet pot and I have to call it, and I lose 17 big blinds more because I've checked instead of putting in a small bet to get value from worse hands, and to know that if he raises, I just get the fuck out of dodge. Thank you for the follow, Glenn Livet, by the way. But that's my take on that. Yeah. So you're going for thin value, and if you get it, great. If they come over the top of you, they ain't bluffing. He ain't bluffing fucking Jack 10 here. You know what I mean? He's not bluffing 10-9. I might do that because I'm a huge fish. And sometimes I do stupid things to tank a stack. If Andy Watson was still in the chat, he might tell you about the other day where on the river I raised someone all in with ace high on a really connected board, because I just flat out just didn't believe him. I got it through and it was a completely stupid play. But I do things like that sometimes, and that's why I'm still at the micros, because I do stupid shit. But this is why we do study sessions, so I can look back on this now and go, actually, do you know what? I should have put in a small, thin value kind of blocking bet on the river. If they come over the top, boom, I'm out of there. I'm out of there, and I saved myself 17 bigs that he would have bet, and we're done. So that's how I'm thinking about it, guys. And I think, I mean, Mumble likes it. And Mumble's a huge crusher, I hear. I'm lying, actually. I've never heard of Mumble Chum, but I like to think that everyone in the chat is a huge crusher. Chat crushers. Yeah, Shane, try doing it. Yeah, Shane, try doing that. I lost it. I was taking a shot at 20 NL the other day, and I lost, I want to say, a 600 big blind pot, or possibly a 500 big blind pot, in a spot that was actually not too dissimilar to that, where someone raised all in on the turn, and I called like a huge fucking fish. And I lost a lot. I lost like half my bankroll on run it once, from doing something really fucking stupid. Yes, Mumble, you're a chat pro. Congratulations, bro. Strut, yeah, no worries, mate. Just so everyone knows, obviously you'll be able to watch this back on Twitch once it finishes, but I will also put it up on Brutal as well. Brutal. Sorry, I read Brutal, and it just completely took over my brain. Let me try this again. I'll put it up on YouTube as well, and I'll cut out the 15-minute intro at the start, which I literally just put in there just so people could come in and, you know, people could gather, you know. But I'll stick this up on YouTube, and it'll be available on Twitch like literally immediately after I finish. But YouTube, I can't put it up immediately. I have to wait like a day or two because of the Twitch affiliate rules and shit like that. Twitch basically owns this content. They own my soul. But what can you do? Strut, feel free. Honestly, guys, feel free. I mean, you also, I'm guessing you're all from the Black Rain group on Facebook. Feel free to drop me a message, or even drop me a message on Twitch or whatever. If you've got like a session that you want us to review, like, fucking send it over. I mean, PokerStars files are only what, just a small text file, right? You can send it to my my Twitch email address if you like, which is, it should be in the description below. Check that it is. Should be a little contact box. Yeah. So I've got a little Hotmail address there, and you could send me your session, and we can all get together and review it on here. I'll give my thoughts, and you give your thoughts in the chat. And what would be great, what I'd like to do is whoever sends me the session, get you on a call or whatever, and we can discuss it. Discuss it on the call. No, it doesn't need to be PokerStars. iPoker is fine. The only one that would be a problem would be Party Poker, because it installs everything as Hero. And obviously I've got my own Party Poker stuff on here, so then if I uploaded someone else's Party Poker results, then it would get confusing between what's mine and what's theirs. So PokerStars is fine. iPoker should be fine as well. I've got I used to have an iPoker account on a site that no longer exists. So yeah, so that's kind of my vision. I'm gonna think you're a bellend. Strutmeister, I already think you're a bellend, mate. Nothing will change. I think everyone's a bellend. I hate everyone. I hate people. Everyone in the world, I hate. I have no... My hate has no bounds. I hate everyone. Everyone's a fucking bellend. No, I'm joking. I love you. I love you all, guys. Thank you for all kind of coming out. Because this whole thing here that I'm trying to do, it wouldn't work without you guys in the chat, like trying to, you know, chiming in and stuff like that. Yeah, Seckums there can confirm. Seckums knows me in real life. We've been friends, if he's willing to use that word, for like 15 years or so. So Seckums, aka Nick, can attest that I am a miserable bastard. I'm a horrible person. You should all leave the channel right now. No, don't do that, because then I wouldn't have a fucking anyone to talk to, and that would suck. Anyway, we're gonna finish off on this hand now, and we're finishing off on a positive note. Spoiler alert: we win a buy-in in this hand. So let's have a little analysation. So we get a limp. Everyone loves a limper. Yeah, good stuff, Strut. Then over. And then we get a razor from here, 6 bigs. I don't know what Xgrammer has, but I like it. I like the intent behind their raise, despite the fact I have no idea what they've got, but they're raising with a purpose, right? So I like that, whatever they've got. A call with the 6s on the button. I've got absolute position, literally set mining, set time again, exactly as you say. They're dazed. Fucking nailed it, mate. So Ace King comes over the top with a min raise. Whoop whoop. Yeah, they come in with a min raise. Xgrammer folds. Now, I'll give you guys a good rule of thumb here, and it's a rule of thumb that I've been told. Well, not I've been told, but I heard it on a podcast. If you want some good content that is very easy to consume, go to Post Flop Poker and Post Flop Poker podcast. Nathan Williams, Black Rain 79, he appears on one of the episodes on there, and it is a podcast that is designed for the serious recreational player, is the way they describe it. So they look at hands from the Microstakes, which is perfect. And it's done by a guy who is a recreational. Well, they changed the lineup a little bit, but they have guys on there that play 10NL. There's a guy on there who's been a pro living in Thailand, playing off like 10NL and relatively low stakes for years. And I spent probably about 3 months every day on the way to work, on the way home from work, on the bus. I would stick the Post Flop Poker podcast on, stick it in my ears, and happy days. While I'm just sat on the bus doing nothing, I'm getting useful poker content. So yeah, so highly recommend those guys. And maybe if we make this a regular enough thing, I might see my way. I might be very, very cheeky and throw them a message on Twitter and say, "Hey, come hang out on my stream, guys." Thank you for the follow, Batika. I'll just call you Butt because I'm Welsh. So I like Butt. There you go. I'll never do that again, guys. Sorry. Anyway, so one of the bits of information I got from the Post Flop Poker podcast is a good rule of thumb for set mining. So if the chips if what you have to call to win, to see a flop or whatever like that, if what you have to call is 1/15 of the chips that you could potentially stand to gain, if you hit your set, for example, then you should call. So way to do this is say, right, well, I've got to call 6 big blinds here. I think they're on Spotify, Mumblechum. I'm not entirely sure. I usually just go on their website and you can download like an MP3 file. I'll bring up their website quickly for you. I'll bring it up at the end. I'll bring it up for you now, right? Fucking hand to note is just getting in the way. Post Flop Poker Podcast. So this guy Ben Hales, he did a book called Post Flop, and then they decided to make a post flop poker podcast on it. Got 106 episodes on there now. I'll quickly see if I can just go to the very first. I'm not going to be able to do that. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about, guys. It's just good, solid content that is very easy to consume. You don't have to work hard. You can, while you're working in the middle of the day, just, yeah, if you're working from home or whatever, just pop it on in the background and just listen and just get some information. So anyway, this whole thing about set mining. So I've got to call 6 big blinds here, right? And my direct pot odds are 19%. Now 6s probably has 19% against their general range. In fact, against Ace King, I've got 55%. So I'm already good pot odds wise, right? However, good rule of thumb, which I've been using in practice, which has done really well, is this, you know, times it by 15 rule. So what you do is you say I've got 6 big blinds more to call. 6 big blinds times 15 is 90. 90 big blinds. Do I potentially stand to win 90 big blinds by calling here? Well, the pot would be, well, let's have a look. So the pot would be 31. So I'm already a third of the way there. And my opponent has 93 behind. So actually I stand to win 120 or so big blinds by making the call, and I only need to stand to win 90. So it is, in my opinion, a very good way of looking at it. Instead of literally just looking at the direct pot odds, it's a way of kind of working out the implied odds, I find. And yeah, and then you can extrapolate that in any which. Obviously, every time you flop a set, you're not going to win that much. But it's a good general rule of thumb that I've used that's recommended from Ben Hales on Post Flop Poker Podcast, EPP. That has held me in good stead. So anyway, let's get on with the hand. Flop. We hit the fucking money card, don't we? Bottom set. I always prefer hitting bottom set rather than top set or middle set, just because it's a lot easier to get value, because our opponents can have more value hands themselves. So you gotta love the micro. I don't remember this hand at all, but don't you love the micros? He bets 3 big blinds here. We're not having that. So I come in for a raise. Now, as you're gonna see, the raise size is very small. I'm not saying that this is correct. Looking back at it, I probably could have gone bigger. If I had to go back in time and guess why I raised small, it was probably because I thought, well, I want to keep in his 10x, his pocket 9s, pocket 8s, pocket 7s, his queen jack, king queen, just basically really shit hands that for whatever reason he might see bet a super small amount like this, but he just can't fold to 7 big blinds more, which is just a stupid amount to raise. I agree, but my thinking there is, if you're going to do something stupid, then I want to force you to call with something stupid. I want to force you to call with something like pocket 7s, which is almost never going to be good in this kind of spot. And And obviously he's always going to call with his ace king, his ace 10, his value hands. They're always calling anyway, you know, that's no different. But I'm targeting here, if I was to look back at this, I would say I'm probably targeting those ridiculous hands. If I was to do this again today, I'd probably raise it a bit more, but not massive. No, I called and he 3-bet Bob. So I called just for Bob's sake. So it was a limp raise. I called a min raise, a min 3-bet, and I called the min 3-bet. So anyway, he decides to just call. So I'm thinking, okay, well, he's called me with summon. The 9 I'm actually pretty happy with. Lose to pocket 9s now, but aside from that, nothing. This is actually a really good card. If he has got an ace 9, for example, he's now made 2 pair. If he's got queen jack, he's now got a straight draw. If he's got you know, 2 diamonds, he's now got a flush draw. I mean, does he ever have 7-8 here? Probably not. So he donk bets for 3 big blinds again. What the fuck are you doing? So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to raise bigger. I don't like my size here at all. The flop, I could understand my reasoning a bit more, but on the turn, I hate this fucking sizing. I would go at least 30 here, maybe 35. I probably wouldn't pot it because I think then you're shooing away too much of his range. But on this here, like raise more, I would. So we got the call. River is a 4 of diamonds. It's not the best card in the world. Obviously, we lose to diamonds. We lose to diamonds, right? But when he calls flop and calls turn, it does have a lot of ace X in his range. Yeah, I think I probably did tag them on PokerStars. He's going to have a lot of ace X in his range. Ace 10, ace 9, ace king, ace jack, ace queen. Whatever, you know. And because of that, it makes it a lot harder for him to have a flush. Yeah, he could have queen jack of diamonds, he could have king queen of diamonds, king jack of diamonds, but those are very small amount. I block diamonds as well on my 6, which is great. So I'm feeling pretty good. So we put him in, boys, don't we? Come on. What else are we going to do here? And I'll save you the long explanation. Boom, we get max value. We get max fucking value there. So, all in all, happy fucking days, guys, basically. A station who donk bets 3 big blinds every street and min raises ace king in the big blind. And there you go. So what I actually won there in this pot was more than that 90 big blinds that I was saying earlier, which is a good reason for calling with smaller sets and stuff like that. If you set mine and you can potentially hit them, then you can potentially just get massive value out of them. So strictly speaking, obviously the physical amount that I won wasn't 200 big blinds. I'm up 100 and whatever. But yeah. So yeah, that was a good. That was a nice hand to play. I remember that one. I remember it now anyway. And that was overall, it was a decent session. We were up only 2 buy-ins, but it was all right. I'd raise more, but you could go all in on the river, so it's okay. Are you referring to the turn there? But I'm assuming you're referring to the turn, in which case I agree. Should have raised more. On the river, I did put him all in anyway, so we got max value from him. But yeah, that's it basically, guys. Yeah, I won't go any further because it is an oven in this room. If I open the curtains, you'll see what I mean. The sun is on me, so I'm gonna leave it there and go have some food and I don't know, do whatever I feel like. But yeah, so thanks for coming out, guys. Like I've enjoyed doing this. I am hoping that you guys enjoyed this as well. I've never done this before, so if you have any comments, critiques, feel free to keep them to yourself. Now feel free to drop me a message on Facebook or on Twitch or wherever the fuck, and we will, like, if everyone's happy to do this again, I'm quite happy to do this again. My thought is to try and do this every week, every Thursday. Every Thursday about the same time. And we can try to do this. I will be streaming next on Sunday. It won't be a review thing, it'll just be me playing. Most likely playing cash on Run It Once, but sometimes it might be Party Poker or Poker Stars, and sometimes I'll play some tournaments or sit and goes as well. I like to try and mix it up a bit, but I primarily stream cash, so I'll be doing that on Sunday, Sunday morning UK time, around about 11 AM, somewhere between 10 AM and 11 AM is usually where I start. And yeah, it'd be great to just hang out and play some poker with you guys there. But yeah, we'll set this up again for next week, and we'll try a different, slightly different format. I'll look forward to getting hold of your hand history strut, and we can have a look into your hands, and try and get you on a Skype call or something like that as well, so you can join in with the physical conversation and we can have a bit of banter and stuff like that. So anyway, I'll leave you there, guys. Thank you very much for coming and hanging out, and I will catch you. I pressed the button too early. I'll catch you next time, guys. Thanks a lot.